So I know myself personally as a consumer, it's kind of hard to not judge a book by its cover. You see a bottle with a really cool presentation, and sometimes you want to have it just for that presentation. I think it would look really nice on my shelf, so on and so forth. It's a conversation piece. And that happens with the color of the bottle too. So given the fact that we are in the heart of spring, we're going to take a look at 10 green fragrances in my collection. I'm going to be letting you know my thoughts on them and whether or not I think they're spring appropriate. So make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin my fragrance review or this list on green fragrances that I have in my collection and I tell you all about them, if I think they're spring appropriate or not, so on and so forth, I want to start things off by mentioning that if you're a fan of fragrance related content, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Hit that bell icon so you can be notified whenever I do upload future videos to this channel, and give this video a thumbs up if you take something of value from today's episode. It would really mean a lot to me. So let's go ahead and start with the first one, which actually has green in the name, and this one is Greenly by Parfums de Marly. And so this one is bright, fresh, fruity, apple, musky, ambroxan, a Hesperides accord, and this one is really addictive in the opening. The performance on this one is also pretty good, not as good as a Carlisle or a Herod or something like that, but this one, bright, fresh, definitely very exuberant and perfect for the hotter weather. And so is Greenly by Parfums de Marly spring appropriate? Yes, it is. If I were a consumer and I was shopping with my eyes, this one would actually be a solid pick because I think this one is spring appropriate. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at another one by Marly. And this one is Haltane. Definitely the brand new release. Actually came out towards the end of 2021, but now it became available everywhere. So you can find it at the boutique in Manhattan. You can find it, I think, in Saks and any other department stores where they have partnerships. And so you can even see with my bottle, it doesn't have the Harrods logo on here. So with this fragrance, it's definitely on the spicier side of things. It's warm, it has an undertone of sweetness, kind of like a saffron spicy quality to it as well. So given the woods and the spices and those dark elements, is Haltane spring appropriate? I don't think it is. I think this is a great fragrance for the fall, so the autumn and the winter. But in terms of wearing this in the spring or in the summertime, I think it's going to choke people out. I think it's a great fragrance, but I think it's one that I would probably hold off on wearing until it gets a little bit colder outside. But in the meantime, I'll wear Galloway. I'll wear Percival, actually happens to be my scent of the day. I'll wear Sedley. There's a lot of other great fragrances that you can wear until it gets cool out, but I know Marly is a house that definitely has a lot of cold weather options, and so Haltane is definitely the newest one to add to that category. The next fragrance I want to talk about is Hindu Grass by Nasomatto. Now this fragrance is a green fragrance in terms of the name and what it conveys. So this is actually a very dark patchouli based fragrance, definitely on the chocolatey warm side of things. And in my personal opinion, yes, Hindu Grass can be worn for the springtime. I probably wouldn't wear it in the dead of summer though, because it is one of the darker fragrances from the brand. Summertime, I think you can wear Absinthe. I think you can wear China White. I think you can wear Nuda. I think there's a lot of great fragrances that you can wear in the warmer weather from the house of Nasomatto. And then if you look at the sister company, Orto Parisi, there's also Megamare, which is a great fragrance, amazing fragrance for the summertime. Also Bergamasque. But this one, I do think you can pull off in the spring, but not the summer. And so if I were a consumer shopping with my eyes and I happen to purchase this, I think I'd be okay for at least the next 2 months. And then, you know, come June, I would have to transition into something a little fresher. The next fragrance I want to talk about by Amouage is called Enclave. So this is a bit more of a muted green, I suppose. The saturation isn't as high as something like a Greenly. This is definitely a little bit more pigmented. This is a bit more muted, if you will. With Enclave, you do get the mint. And mint is a great ingredient for the springtime, especially as it's found in fragrances like Montfresh by Healy. I love the note of mint. In Enclave though, it does take a bit of a warmer turn. And so the same thing that I would say about Hindu Grass, I would also say about Enclave. I think it's great for the springtime. not so good for the summertime. Enclave is a great fragrance to enjoy during those transitional seasons. So the autumn, the spring, it has that ambery warmth in the dry down. And it also has like these tobacco-like nuances. So it actually smells quite similar to Creation E by Roja Parfum, but a brighter, mintier version of it. I personally love Enclave. The Amouage brand has a lot of great fragrances. Summertime fragrances would be Reflection for Men, Beach Hut Man, a lot of other great and solid fragrances to wear in the hotter weather. Enclave, good for the autumn, good for the spring, not the summer though. So if I were a consumer and I was shopping with my eyes and I see a green bottle and I'm like, man, it's springtime, I think this would go great. Next up, we have Lautis by Navitus Parfum. Now, I'm actually the creative director of this fragrance. This is composed by Bertrand Duchaufour, one of the best perfumers in the industry. Jubilation 25, Fusion Sacré by Majda Bekali, Incense Avignon by Comme des Garçons. His list of accomplishments goes on and on. This has vanilla, lavender, cascarilla, which is a spice from the Antilles, a lot of wonderful, wonderful ingredients. This is a great all year round fragrance because it smells very professional. It definitely harkens back to some of those barbershop fragrances from the 70s and 80s. So amazingly versatile. The only caveat is, given the fact that it is concentrated at 25% oil, I would not over apply. Once you go past that 5 or 6 spray mark, you're overdoing it. And so this is a great fragrance for all year round unless you over apply. In that case, there's a good chance you're going to choke somebody out because this is a very, very strong fragrance. And so if I were shopping with my eyes and I saw Lautis and I picked it up for the springtime, I would have done made a good decision, right? Some of the other fragrances, you know, I would definitely wait until it gets a little bit colder out. The next fragrance is, I think it's called, yes, Whispers of Enchantment by House of Sillage. This is a beautiful, beautiful fragrance from House of Sillage. Has some spicy ingredients, has some warm ingredients, has some floral ingredients. Do I think this is a great springtime fragrance? Absolutely, I do. I think this is great for all year round. There are some other fragrances from House of Sillage that I would recommend only in the autumn or only in the winter time. This is great all year round. Again, with that same caveat, do not over apply because it is a potent fragrance. And then next up, we have Harrods by Roja Parfum. So we have two sort of Harrods exclusive fragrances here. This one has lost its exclusivity, but here we have Harrods by Roja Parfum, dedication to one of the most prestigious retail partners that the brand has. And this fragrance is quite mossy, but it's also fresh and floral at the same time. It seems like a brighter version of Diaghilev, which is also by Roja Parfum, one of my favorite fragrances. And so Harrods is a great fragrance for the springtime, also a great fragrance for the summertime as well. I would probably wear this in every season except for the winter. I would go ahead and wear Diaghilev in the winter time. That one is a little bit heavier. In terms of Oud for Happiness by Initio, has green accents, but it is a black and gold bottle. I really like the gold hardware with green. I think it looks very nice, very classy. And this is great for the hotter weather. It kind of reminds me of Bleecker Street by Bond No. 9. So it has that sweet quality to it. It's fresh at the same time. It has that undertone of sweetness and incredibly versatile in my opinion. Solid release by Initio. The next fragrance is great for the spring, and I think for the summer it might be a little too heavy because this brand makes some super strong fragrances. By Electimus London, this is called Persephone's Patchouli. Now this is a dry, spicy, earthy, woodsy patchouli. My wife personally loves it. She found something in here that kind of reminds her of Santal 33, and I can kind of see it, but not really. You know, that's definitely the reason why she loves it so much, but it is a unique offering from the house. Very cool expression of the note of patchouli. Also has pomegranate in the opening, which I think is a really cool fruity touch that adds a little bit of tartness. So perfect for the springtime. As a consumer, I think this would be a great springtime fragrance. And then the last one I want to talk about is by Hermetica, and it's called Green Lion. And so this fragrance is an amazing spring release. It has the note of basil in here. It also has a little mint, if I'm remembering correctly. It's very herbal, and then it also dries down to like this green woodsy background. And so here you have a lot of green fragrances. And so I think the consensus or the verdict is that yes, a lot of these green bottles are spring appropriate. Only rarely will you find a fragrance that is not spring appropriate. And just because it's green doesn't mean you can overdo it, right? So green doesn't always translate to light or wispy or ethereal. Some of these fragrances are very, very strong. Harrods by Roja Parfum, Persephone's Patchouli by Electimus London, Lautis by Navitus Parfum, Haltane. A lot of these fragrances are really strong, but this is me just taking a look at 10 randomly selected green niche fragrances from my collection, giving you my thoughts, telling you if I think they're spring appropriate. And this is kind of a cool thing to do from season to season. In the summertime, obviously you're gonna look for blue, right? And a lot of blue bottles are great summertime fragrances, but that's a video we'll shoot in 2 or 3 months. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Just wanted to do something fun just to break up the monotony a little bit. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Hit the bell so you can be notified whenever I do upload future videos to the channel. And of course, give the video a thumbs up if you took something of value from today's episode. Thank you again so much for tuning in today. Love you all. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.